Blessings in the Son of God, Jesus Christ. Hail Christ, hail victory. I'm seeing something disturbing happening among many Christians, many right-wingers, in the wake of Charlie Kirk's murder. And it's this. Many Christians and many right-wingers are committing calumny against Erika Kirk. I'm hearing now from right-wing social media influencers, many Christians in the comments of those videos, saying that Erika Kirk is fake and that she's not mourning for Charlie, that her reaction to his death is strange, and how come she's not being this traditional Christian wife and being all torn up over his assassination. That why is she assuming the leadership at Turning Point USA? And she's, I guess, apparently, and I don't know, that she's doing videos and she's like stepping right into the shoes of leadership there, of what was her husband's ministry, and basically labeling her as this fake person. Some people even speculating or saying that she was a handler for Charlie Kirk, and questioning also the authenticity of their marriage and how they met, saying they were probably arranged. And it's speculative nonsense, assumptions. They didn't even wait for the body really to be cold too long before they start going in with these schizo conspiracy theories. And to me, it's disgusting. It's the sin of calumny, by the way. That's what the Bible calls it, calumny. Bearing false witness, slander, written libel. No facts to back this up. And I think Christians need to start reading the Bible more. I mean, one, I think it's classless to do that. The woman just lost her husband. By the way, my family, we've lost 4 family members since 2012. And at every single funeral and reception afterwards, we were joyful, showed very little signs of mourning. But that doesn't mean you're not mourning behind the scenes in private. And so people are bearing false witness against her that because she's not mourning too much outwardly in the public, that she's fake. And some people even go into the length that she may have had something to do with it, but most people just saying that she's probably one of his handlers, she's fake. How come she's not being this trad Christian in mourning? Again, having gone through losses in my family over the last 13 years, 4 deaths, we mourned. But we didn't do it in front of people. And I'm not saying it's wrong to do it in front of people. That's perfectly normal. But these people refuse to grant her grace and think the best of her, which as Christians we're commanded to think the best of each other as fellow Christians. And imagine like her children, and they get old enough, or what, I don't even know how old they are, or whatever, they get old enough to see these comments by people saying this about their mom. Just so classless and disgusting. It's one thing for the left to celebrate his death. We know these people are Marxists, degenerates, and evil to the core. But the right wing, a lot on the right wing are no better. Well, I wouldn't say they're no better, but it's like a soft version of it, because they're not celebrating it, of course, but they're going after his wife and questioning her character, her motives. This poor woman just lost her husband and now has some kids to raise by herself. Have you ever thought that maybe perhaps God granted her this strength? And not only that, there are tons of people that are there with her, being supportive of her. That does give a person strength as well. And you're going to perhaps not mourn as much, at least outwardly, right? Because you're having all this support. And do you ever think that perhaps Jehovah God granted her strength to be strong because she needs to be for her children, and granted her the strength to carry on the mission that he gave Charlie Kirk, her husband? Now, people could have disagreements about Christian Zionism. I certainly do. I'm totally anti-Christian Zionist. But we have to remember, not everybody, a lot of these people that are evangelicals were born into this mindset. It doesn't make them not saved, makes them wrong in that area. We need to pray for them, have grace, take the best of them to get out of that false ideology, i.e. Christian Zionism. But if you're preaching the 1 Corinthians 15:1-4 gospel, you're preaching the gospel. And from what I've seen Charlie Kirk, he preached that. And he was involved in politics. There's nothing sinful about that. Christians throughout millennia have been involved in it, because there's nothing wrong with wanting your nation to uphold Christian values and to be against. I mean, we're talking about a nation now that's not only ambivalent towards Christian values, but is actually opposed to them. There's a lot of people who care about the future of their descendants, because we don't know when Christ comes back. We have a responsibility to stand up against this degeneracy that's being force-fed down our children's throats through the public school system and whatnot. But the values that he spoke, that people say, oh, that's political, they were actually godly values. Marriages between a man and a woman, anti-sodomite values, anti-sodomite, preaching against the sodomite agenda, the transgender agenda, basic Christian values, right? Against abortion. And that's why he was killed. I mean, that's what we know. And to rail against this poor woman because you can't grasp how God could have given her strength, and she likely is mourning behind the scenes. Nobody owes you their tears, that they have to mourn for their lost loved one in front of you to appease something you have inside you that needs to see that. I was asked even, because my uncle died January 2024. I didn't mourn to nobody outwardly. But I set aside a time, specific time for me to mourn for my uncle, and I did, in my own way. A lot of people mourn privately. We were very joyful at the funerals and receptions of our family members that had passed. 4 of them in the last 13 years. Someone could have said the same thing about us. But what they don't count on is the fact that God gives you strength during these times. But you still mourn, and it's a lot. And sometimes it's behind the scenes where nobody sees. And sometimes it is in front of people, and there's nothing wrong with that. Either one. If she would have mourned publicly and just been totally torn up over this, there'd be nothing wrong with that. That's biblical too. The fact that people are just ripping into her is disgusting. Whether it's a Nick Fuentes, who to me is the most ankle-biting twink on the right wing, they have no respect for anymore. See, we in the right wing are to be better than those on the left. Because this is really leftist behavior, but disguised as right-wing virtue signaling. I lived in a time growing up where it was uncouth to be like this towards someone who just lost a loved one. It's uncouth. It's classless. It's lack of dignity, lack of honor, lack of class, lack of nobility. And if you're a Christian doing this, you're in sin. That's a sin. It's calumny. Bearing false witness, slander. If you're writing it, it's libel. And I would just ask Christians to check themselves before they wreck themselves, as the song says, because you will be judged for every idle word. I will too. Why not have some dignity in class and give her the benefit of the doubt? See, too many Christians put conspiracy theories as an idol. They put it as an idol because it's more important to try to figure some rabbit hole to go down and show everybody how based you are than it is to be dignified, have class, be merciful. And I mean, listening to Nick Fuentes, the guy's a total hypocrite because he'll say those things on one hand, we got to be this, we got to be that, but then on the other hand, he starts questioning her. Starts saying, oh, well, she's not mourning properly. She's not mourning enough. She's not this, she's not that. Like, dude, you're a hypocrite, Nick Fuentes. How can you say all these things? Oh, yeah, we should, you say, he's like, talks both sides out of the mouth, and it's constant with this guy. This is why I say Nick Fuentes is not a leader. He's not a man of men. And it's time for the right wing to reevaluate themselves. Because this type of behavior towards someone who just lost a loved one would have been unthinkable when I was growing up. What the left did was unthinkable. Those of us who are Christians, right, we need to be better than that. We need to be better than that. Anyways, hail Christ, hail victory.